Hello there, guys.
Hello.
Hello there, internet. I had a slight technical hitch on my side there. This is very exciting. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, Facebook, or even on Twitter, sorry, Twitch, but I could only stream to 3 places at the one time, so you had to lose out again. I'm here tonight with the one and only Sam J. Jones, Flash Gordon. Yes.
We're here. We're in Scotland. We're in Scotland.
Yeah, we are indeed. We're in Scotland. This isn't fake Scotland like some of the other streams you were on. This is real Scotland. And we're here with, down there, we've got Joe and Rob Archie. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, the two comic book creators. You may see a family resemblance. That are bringing Sam Jones to the four-color world of comic books, and Sam J. Jones Saves the Galaxy.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. We'll bring up the campaign, let everybody see it. But it looks really good.
Good.
So cool. So this is Comic Book Gold. And what we're just going to talk about, whatever takes our fancy, but we're definitely going to talk about your comics. And if anybody wants to check them out straight away, which you can do, there's a link down below in the description to the Indiegogo campaign. I'll be sharing it later on as well when we're talking about it, but it's down there for you. You might as well click on it and have a tab open so you can check it out after the show or during the show or whenever. Okay, cool.
All right.
So here we are. Sam, Joe, Rob, what are you guys doing together then? What is this Sam Jones Saves the Galaxy?
Tell them, Rob.
Well, we started out to get, actually, I had a few ideas in my head. I've done a couple graphic novels, and I met Sam at a Comic-Con, and he was nice enough to come over and look at my art, and he picked up a couple paintings. One was Captain America, and the other was Wonder Woman. So we got to know each other a little bit then. Not till 2 years later. 2 years later, I saw him back there again, and I walked up to his line there, and it was getting a little sparse because it was Friday. Not a whole lot of people were there at the time, and I walked up to him, brave and bold, and said, "Sam, I got a pitch for you." And he said, "Shoot." So there we go. And so we started talking, bouncing some ideas around, and came up with this space adventure. Sam J. Jones Saves the Galaxy.
Brilliant. So you didn't at any minute think to call security, Sam? No.
No, because no,
he is security.
You are security, of course.
No, and I don't ever have to call security because I'm a Marine. Look, I've been a Marine for 51 years, still in my mind. I've only been an actor for 45 years, and also I'm a security guy. I've been for 20 years back and forth making movies, and I run security operations in what we call high-risk environments. So that way, if there's any downtime in the movie business, I run security ops and vice versa. But yeah, when Joe pitched that to me, I said, it's time. It's time to do a comic book, AKA a graphic novel. And it's such a great idea. And we're using his experience from his perspective on how he looks at me, from the world's perspective on how they look at me, and in reality. I mean, this is who I am anyway, Sam. I mean, when it comes to Flash Gordon and Sam J. Jones, and the Marine, there really isn't much of a difference. The similarities are quite uncanny and remarkable, exactly the same, because Flash Gordon, he's just a guy. I mean, he's a professional American footballer who has to depend primarily on his athleticism and his wit. There's no superpowers. So the message that's in this book, Sam J. Jones Saves the Galaxy, part of that message is, look, world, if Sam can deal with certain adversities and challenges, and he's very vulnerable because he's just a guy, if he can get past that and through that and have success, then the message is that anybody else out there can do the same thing. So you don't have to have superpowers to be a superhero.
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
And the whole meta thing about this as well is like you're the actor famous for playing Flash Gordon. Now a comic strip character. Now a comic book is being made of you. Could we possibly see this going a bit further and maybe have a movie of the comic strip where you play the character?
Yes.
We're always open. You know, it's the fans, and thank God we have a huge fan base now. That the age demographics. I mean, when I meet people now at the Comic Cons or anywhere, it's grandfather, son, grandson, grandmother, daughter, granddaughter. So we're covering all age demographics, all cultures, ethnicities, all over the world. And that's why Flash Gordon and Sam J. Jones, I think, is so relevant now, especially Wullie, as you know. Come on, this is post-COVID. And during the whole time that you were active during COVID, it was, it's not right. It's not, we as human beings, we're designed for community. We're not designed for isolation. So get ready. Here we go.
Yep. That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you what, if you watch After Flash, that's a documentary about Sam. You get to know a little bit about him, and I'll tell you what, it's a good story. And Sam's a beast. All right, he could go do what I wrote him doing with no problem whatsoever. He's out there doing pull-ups and everything else, and man's man, and a true patriot. And I'll tell you what, we think a lot of Sam, and it's I think it's going to reflect in the book.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent documentary. I watched it. I think in the UK, I think it's available on Amazon Prime still. That was really fascinating because that goes right into your job as well, where you were talking about doing the security and everything else. But yeah, we'll get to that in a minute because I'm sure anybody who's watching, if you want to ask Sam a question or Rob or Joe, please do put it in the chat and I'll bring it up later on. But I've got the campaign up here right now, so you guys can have a look at it. It looks great. So Rob, Joe, exactly how are you working together on this?
Well, my dad, of course, penciled and inked the whole thing, and I colored, and I'm working on the letters right now. And it's pretty much all done except for the lettering, and I'm fixing stuff up on the colors. But the book will be ready to send to the printers by the time this whole campaign's over. So I'm really excited about that. I wanted to have most of it done, of course, so that we didn't have anything to worry about. We could just print it and ship it to you, get it out there, And you're going to be getting, if you scroll up, back up to that membership card, that's an exclusive membership card for this campaign only. And it does harken back to like the 1950s thing.
30s.
Harkens back to the 30s.
Got a little bit of 40s and 50s in there too, but yeah, it's primarily 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's going to be a super collectible card there to have. And
who doesn't want to be a space ranger?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Keep that in your back pocket, in case you're questioned by the alien horde. They'll know. So,
and that picture right there, that portrait you have there is was done by my other son, Luke Archie. And he's a very good portrait painter, and he did a fine job on that card that we can use as well.
Cool. Yeah.
He did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. But yeah, I feel like yeah, we're going to have the 3 trading cards in there. They're all for this campaign. And that image right there, actually, I want to talk about that a little bit later once we get down to the bottom of the campaign. But the one perk that I suggest getting is the signed copy by Sam J. Jones. And that one's going to be going fast. So I would really pick that up now because there's only so many left. If you want to talk about your book tour there, that would be because we have something special.
That's an extensive tour you're on right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's obviously a lot of comic cons I'm doing, but since we've launched the book, this is actually in reality it's the comic book tour, 23 and 24, and this is very fluid. This is I'm getting calls every day now about coming to a different city around the world to be part of this. The promoters of the event want to be part of this comic book tour. So yeah, it's very fluid. We're going to be adding more and more cities as we speak. So I'm very excited about it.
Hey,
excellent. Well, I'll bring that back up again towards the end of the stream. Like I say, the link is down there below. And if any mods are in the chat and want to add the link to the chat, please do. Yeah, you were wanting to speak about this particular image, Joe.
That one, yeah, that's we just came up with this today. So that image is going to be on an exclusive book tour trading card that if you go see Sam at one of these cons, which is going to be all over the country, you'll have access to this trading card. It's a special con only card. If you back right there at the convention and show Sam your backer number, then he will give you one of these for free. And that's going to be super rare and collectible. So
that is amazing.
I'm excited about that one. Yeah.
And Wullie, I'm working on getting booked in Scotland. Now I haven't done Scotland. I'm overdue to do Scotland. I think last time I did it was with Lou Ferrigno. It was wonderful, but I was in Dublin early this year. So I'm overdue for Scotland. So I'm reaching out to a couple promoters now for Scotland.
Cool. I haven't done a convention for a while, but if I do, I'll try and make sure I'm at the same one you're at, Sam. Come and say hello.
Yes.
That'd be cool. Yeah, well, I'm going to quickly dive to the chat before we start having a chat, see who's here, because we've got John Hayes art. John's a really good artist in his own right. Cam Motorsports, that's my pal Kenny. We get Call Me Mark. Hail
Call Me Mark.
Hail Flash Gordon. Hail the panel. Hail everybody. If you
Call Me Mark. Yeah, he's
another. He's one of the GG UK family over here.
He's a commie, but he's probably the only good commie.
He's everybody's favourite commie. What can I say? And we have Peter Gilmore. Hi, Pete, a great artist. And we've got Maria asking what your favourite city to visit for Comic Con. She's asking some other stuff here, but I'm going to bring this one up well so you can think about that. Do you have a favourite city or Comic Con?
Yeah, Maria. I mean, they're all fun to me. Some of the most unique, of course, is going to Scotland, and I'm not saying that just to tickle Wullie's ears. I mean, I remember going to Edinburgh Castle. I was amazed at Edinburgh Castle that the guide told me that your castle in Edinburgh has never been sacked. It's never been conquered. I said, really? He said, yeah, but we had to surrender 22 times. I said, why did you surrender? He said, because, Wullie, do you know why they had to surrender?
Because they'd run out of basically anything to eat. Because that's the only time, usually back in the medieval times, anybody would ever surrender. Is like when you know you were just going to die starvation.
You're right. They ran out of provisions. So I asked him that. I asked the guide the naive question. Well, when it came to the 22nd time where the castle is under siege or about to become under siege, because they saw it coming, from the ocean. They saw the enemy coming, and their scouts gave them, I think, a couple days notice. So I said to the guide, why didn't they not, plan and bring in enough provision for whatever amount of time? He said, Sam, they had provision for 2,000 people. They had water and food for 2,000 people for 2 years, and they still ran out of provision. So that's what they gave up. But yeah, I love doing the cons in anywhere, Scotland and Ireland. London is a big one. We have a couple big ones, obviously, in America. I love doing Salt Lake City. Guys, if you ever get a chance and you've not attended, Dan Farr, the owner promoter, Dan Farr puts on an incredible event in Salt Lake City, Utah. I think it's called Fan X, not to be confused with Fan Expo. Fan X in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then I just love going to all the small to medium size Comic Cons all over the world, because you're in that country, whether it's America or Scotland or Ireland or whether it's England. You're going to these small towns, these small communities, and you're out there with the people. You're out there with the, as I refer to, we refer to as me. I'm a Southern boy. I'm a country boy. I'm a common man out there with the common folk. And that's where I really like to be.
Gail, well said.
That's where they met, right? In a small town, Altoona. It's in a small town. But
Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But Altoona, they don't have any tuna fish. You know that?
That's all different. It's like an Indian word or something. Native American, sorry.
Oh, Jets fan, yes.
Yeah, that's Wojo, who's booked the Mysticals. He's just got printed and looks great. I know nothing about American football, I have to say, other than what I saw in Flash Gordon, which was great.
No, Aaron Rodgers spectacular for the Packers for years.
Yeah, he went to the Jets. Went to the Jets.
Just say hi to Cap there. I don't know what he's typing. Must be drinking. He's a fellow Scot. Talking about actually Flash Gordon and football, that scene was really odd. That scene where you play football against Ming's guards, that was was that scripted that way, or was that something that was devised?
Well, no, it was scripted that we're going to have this fight scene with Ming's guards, but obviously our director Michael Hodges gave us some freedom to improvise and put into action, implement whatever our skill sets were. And I played American football for the Marine Corps. And so it was a no-brainer. And then, of course, Melody Anderson, the leading lady, she was our cheerleader. And I mean, we would stick to script most of the time, but always if you have an opportunity to improvise, it becomes raw. It becomes fresh. And so that's what we try to do as well.
Well, Sam, tell him about that cool fight with Timothy Dalton on that tilting thing. I didn't even hear that story yet. So let us in.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was in Hawk City, and it was the battle disc scene. And then, they forced us to fight each other. And so it was Timothy Dalton representing Arborea. He was the Prince of Arborea. And then, of course, me. And so we trained with you ready for this? We trained with a real bullwhip master. I know that sounds funny.
There you go.
But no, I mean, a real cowboy in England trained us to use, because they wanted to use a real bullwhip so they can get the real noise of the whip crackling. So, so you can imagine that. And then, of course, they had the technicians. We had a rotating battle disc we had one technician on the rotation and two technicians using the hydraulics to engage the spikes. So those spikes were a hollow bicycle pump. So it wasn't real hard metal. And then, of course, the tips of the spikes was a hard rubber. But it wasn't about, okay, we're not going to get hurt. You're going to get scratched up if you roll onto the spikes. But that's not the issue. The issue is if you roll onto the spikes, you're going to break them. You're going to hold up production. It's going to take hours to repair them. And time is money. You know that in any industry, time is money. So we were very careful. We spent weeks rehearsing this. And when that disc was rotated in its highest elevation, it was probably about a 23 to 24 foot fall, which is pretty high. So we didn't want to worry about falling. We didn't have to worry. From the audience's perspective, if we fell, we would fall into infinity and die. But from our perspective, in reality, they had all these boxes, stacked on top of one another. And we actually, every time we fell, during rehearsal and the actual takes, of course, we didn't use it in the movie because you're not supposed to fall. Every time we fell onto these boxes that were stacked. And it was a bit disconcerting because we don't really use boxes anymore because we have other ways, like a nice small air pad or something.
Does that actually break your fall?
The corners of the cardboard would penetrate, not penetrate, but it would hit your rib cage. And every time we fell, you would hear, "Ugh!"
Yeah.
But we had fun, and it was that camaraderie, sort of conflict camaraderie with Timothy, and he was representing, he was the enemy and I was his enemy. And then at the end of the fight scene, of course, that's how we came together. It was wonderful.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, the cast on that movie is actually got an incredible cast.
Yeah.
And for anybody in Britain watching it as well, there's just so many faces that we recognised. You were saying to me earlier, the first place you filmed was in the Isle of Skye.
Oh, yeah. And the actor? There's a famous actor that was at the airfield in Isle of Skye, and he came to the aircraft. He held the door open for me and Melody. And that actor's name is Robbie Coltrane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robbie Coltrane. Yeah.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Robbie Coltrane, a great comedian as well.
Yeah.
But because there was even you even spent some time in, well, what could you call it? In a pit with Richard O'Brien from the Rocky Horror Show. That didn't look particularly comfortable to film.
Well, yeah. Richard O'Brien in the movie was Timothy Dalton's right-hand man.
Yeah.
His character name was Fico. And for, like you just said, a lot of people didn't know that is Richard O'Brien, who wrote the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Mm.
And he was wonderful. Yeah, I think he lives in New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that scene, I remember watching it when I saw it first time in the cinema. It was yourself, it was like Richard O'Brien, and then there was Peter Duncan of Blue Peter. That was a children's TV show at the time, and it was almost like it was like a variety show as well as a movie when I was watching it.
Well, I got a funny story
experience.
I have a funny story, Wullie, about Peter Duncan. So a couple years back, we were in Rochdale, England, at a Comic-Con, at a really cool venue. I think it was an old church, if I remember correctly. And Peter Duncan was there, and he was a guest. I had not seen Peter in, well, you do the math, probably 40 years, And a fan gave him the original. A fan bought the original wood beast. The original wood beast that was inside the tree trunk. And they gave him that. So what he did at all his appearances, he took that original wood beast and he had it on his table to meet all the fans. But the crazy thing about that wood beast, this is 40 years later. It was just a mangled piece of little wires and claws, and just it looked like someone stepped on it, spit on it, and rolled over it, and it was rained on for 40 years.
Yeah.
But he had it, and he kept it in a little box, and he surrounded it with all the little fern, the fern from the tree, stuff like that.
Oh, that's such a fun scene to watch.
That's
that.
Peter Duncan, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Because also I'm thinking, Brian Blessed, is he as crazy as he seems?
Oh, he's nuts. He would take over this entire interview right now, and you would love it. Here's how he would do it, Wullie. He would say, you'd ask him a question, he'd speak for 20 minutes, and he'd stop. Well, that's maybe 10 to 15 minutes without taking a breath. And every 10, 15 minutes, he would stop and say, look at Wullie, look at Joe, look at Sam, look at Rob. Aren't they beautiful? Now, back to me. That's how.
What do you think? You think we should book him, Sam?
yeah. I was just with him in London at London Comic Con. That was a couple months ago. He's wonderful.
Yeah, he looks like a fun guy. He looks like a fun guy.
Let's get him on.
He's so entertaining. He's so entertaining. Who else now? Ornella Muti.
Ornella Muti. I was reading your mind.
Yeah.
I got a quick story to tell you there if you want to hear it.
Yeah, I don't even know what I want to say. Just to say the name and see what happens.
I think Joe and Rob has heard it, but Ornella Muti, beautiful, sexy Italian actress. She was a star back in 1979 when we were making Flash Gordon. She did all these movies in French. She spoke French, German, Italian, and English. Anyway, so it was scripted that I was supposed to do a very quick scene with her, the mental telepathy scene. So right before we were to shoot it, the director, Mike Hodges, came up to me and he said, now, Sam, we really got to make this quick because we're running out of time. But he goes, here's what I want to do. I want to put her on your lap, and we're going to do this little sexy mental telepathy scene. But we only have a couple minutes to shoot it. So on the first take, after we were done, remember, she's on my lap and she's being very sexy in my ear. And I turned to the director. I said, Mike, I'm having difficulty with this. I'm just not getting it. I need another take. And then he said, okay, we'll give you another take. And then, after 25 takes later, I milked that scene for 4 hours. Okay?
Oh, boy. Go Flash.
So I usually say that was my most difficult scene to do in the movie. Okay.
Right. So that's why they call you Flash Gordon then.
She was wonderful. She had her husband with her. I had my girlfriend with me at the time, and we were it was amazing.
All good, clean fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. I want to ask about Max von Sydow as well, because he's one of my favorite actors. I'm a big Ingmar Bergman fan.
Yeah, he and Brian were sort of my mentors on the set. He was very, very encouraging, and he was just wonderful. He was just a wonderful human being, and he was a little bit different than most actors, meaning most actors like to stay at the hotel where everybody's at, and they get at the end of the, when they come back, they go around the bar, the restaurant, they talk, they eat, they have fun. But Max was very unique. He wanted his own private little away from everybody else, so he could focus on his character. I know a lot of actors do this, but this was my first time experiencing this. So I think he stayed at a small chateau out in the farmland, so he could really focus on his character, and it really showed. It really paid off.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm going to jump into the chat a little second, have a look here. This isn't weird at all. Cap says, weird thing to say, but it helps my mental health. Every time I need a lift, Flash is the man to do it, and that's not
There you
a
go.
weird thing to say, Doug. It's the kind of
No,
I think
it's-
that movie has that kind of feel good go-to movie. You know, when
Well,
people want
yeah,
something to watch to make them feel, better with themselves. That is a really good film.
well, absolutely. I get that a lot, and thank you for that. And I received that, and it's very important. What was just said, because again, what I said in the beginning, people relate to Flash Gordon because they see he's just a guy, he's just a man, and if he can get through these hardships and people being oversensitive, people being easily offended, especially during COVID, and all these bullying and the bad guys and innocents being abused. And if they can see that, Sam or Flash Gordon, he's just a man. He's just a guy. He doesn't call a board meeting. He doesn't call a board of directors meeting to get everybody's approval. If something egregious is happening right now, then he moves into action. And that shows the common man and the common woman, child and or adult. By golly, if Sam can do it, if Flash Gordon can do it, then I can do it too. It's just that simple. It's simple. Wullie, when we make things simple with common sense and practical thinking without having to add some great mystery to figure out, that's too confusing. But it's just a simple mindset of common sense and practical thinking.
Yeah, and you've made his day.
Sam, tell me about. There was one of the iconic scenes in that movie was right at the end. Yeah, where you jump up in the air and they catch you. And do you have anything to say about that one?
Hell, Captain F-head. Who's Captain?
Well, that's who spoke.
F-head?
That's who asked you the. That's who asked you the question.
Flash spoke to me. What did he say?
Captain
I have
F-head.
a what? Wait, every time I need a. Oh, that's him. Well,
Yeah, that's
thank
him.
you for that.
And then he was saying, "Flash spoke to me. I have now won at life." So there you go.
Yeah, and see, that helps me too. It gives me a lift as well.
Yeah, and Kenny's well saying it's definitely such an uplifting movie.
It's such a yeah. So, Rob, you were asking me about which one?
Right at the end, and how did they come about that? Where you jump up at the camera, and that was the end. That was pretty cool.
And that's
it's kind of iconic because when you think about the movie, you think about that.
Yeah, it's transitioned the title, referring that now to the Flash jump, which is kind of cool. Yeah, they didn't know what to do at the end. The movie was over, but bad guys have been neutralized, justice has been served, and then all of a sudden this little robot, which was represented Ming and evil, and then we realized, okay, he's not evil. I think he said, what did he say? A hell flash or something, whatever he said. And then all of a sudden we kind of looked at each other, and the director said, what do you want to do? I said, well, it makes sense. Let's just do a big flash jump in victory. Big victory. I called it a victory jump. And then, of course, they transitioned the vernacular to a flash jump, which is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
And that's why they carried it over, and they wanted me to do it in the movie Ted.
Yeah. that would have been interesting. That image, I think, was used in the back cover of the album as well. It was definitely used.
Yes,
I think it
absolutely.
was, which leads me, because I've not forgotten, Maria. There's a question here from Maria. Do you know how Queen came to be involved in Flash Gordon, or was that?
That is a great question. I could tell you one thing in the beginning, from what I know, that Dino De Laurentiis, the producer, did not want Queen. Matter of fact, when he first heard the first music that they put together, he was quoted in saying, Queen is not the band for my movie. It was only, and so I think it was one of the younger producers, of maybe it was Bernie Williams, I think, who maybe brought Queen on board. But Dino De Laurentiis did not really accept Queen until he had a private screening of, I think, again, the common men, the common women, the common folk of the community, and they came out to see it. and they went crazy over Queen. And then Dino said, "Queen is my band for my movie."
Yeah, I guess so.
And again, I always say the Queen not only was was an asset, it brought tremendous value to Flash Gordon. It really did.
Mhm.
And if you ask Brian May, because there's a bit of an argument, I think, between the Who and maybe Queen, because Brian May is quoted as saying that Queen, the Queen music is the first, to Flash Gordon, is the first rock opera soundtrack to a major motion picture. But there's a few other bands who would argue that, but I believe he's right, that Queen did the first rock opera soundtrack to a major motion picture. And Flash Gordon is a major motion picture. Why?
Yeah.
Because in the year 1979, the budget was $35 million. You go, well, big deal, Sam. Well, wait a minute. This is 44 years later, 2023 from 1979. If you do the inflation math to do that same movie right now, from 35 million to 20 to right now, it'd be about $240 million budget. That's
Wow.
a huge,
Yes.
That's a mega.
There are movies nowadays that they put billions of dollars into, and they're just not. They just don't really hold up either. You know, that's a classic movie that they don't.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, Mike Hodges, you mentioned was director. I think this was a bit of a departure for him because he'd been movies like Get Carter and that and so on. What kind of a guy was he to work with?
He was wonderful. You have to remember now, he came on board. Are you ready for this? This big $35 million movie that had already Nicholas Cage,
Nick Rogue, yeah.
Nicholas Rogue was the first director on board doing pre-production and development for how long? I don't know, 8 months, a year.
So were you involved with Nicholas Rogue before?
Pardon me?
Were you involved with Nicholas Rogue before Mike Hodges came on?
Oh yeah, Nicholas was involved. He was doing a lot of planning and pre-production and development, so it had his look. And then for whatever reason, he bumped heads with Dino. A couple of us have, and he left. And Michael Hodges walks on to this huge movie 3 weeks before filming. So you can imagine, it's crazy. And I think he did an incredible job. He really did. He really did.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Dino Laurentiis, it's hard to say. Dino Laurentiis, as you say, notoriously butt heads with, I think, somebody in every movie that he made. But your relationship with him, was that an okay one or was that a rocky one?
Well, it was, but we did end up bumping heads, and thank God we mended that relationship. But I didn't understand it then. I was 23 years old, I think. I didn't quite understand why he was like he was. But as I got older, I figured it out. He was a control freak. I'm a control freak. Okay, so I got it. I mean, there were some other things that were a little bit much. I mean, this massive budget, and I couldn't even get a new pair of socks from production without Dino's approval. And I said, that's ridiculous. Why is this man even bothered by the lead actor getting a brand new pair of socks? Okay. And unless they're Louis Vuitton socks, which they weren't, right? You know what I'm saying? But I understand that clearly. But we bumped heads during the making of the movie on a couple of issues. Well, one primary issue. And anyway, and it finally worked out. And but there was this, I refer to it, no matter what industry we're in, if there is a tension, if there is a unforgiveness, if there's this, that's a cloud that hovers over you, even if you're not at fault. And I'm not saying I was not at fault. I probably made the wrong decision when it came time to what happened between Dino and I, but I was such a young rookie. I probably made the wrong decision. But when there's something that's not settled, and it's usually unforgiveness, somebody is holding unforgiveness towards somebody else, even if you don't think you are. If there's an unsettledness, this is a cloud. It's a dark cloud that hovers over us, especially when we're saying, well, I'll never forgive that guy. You know, let him, and look at my face. I want you to read my face while I'm saying these words. This is very important for your viewers. Yeah, I'll never forgive that guy. I want him to suffer his entire life. Well, you see, the very person who is speaking that, who's holding on to unforgiveness, he's the one that's in torment. It's not the person that we think did them wrong. It's actually here. So we don't speak, we should never speak. We must speak unforgiveness so we can be freed up. And so I called him 15 years later after the movie because this cloud was just on my shoulders forever. And I called him up and I said, Dino, I said, please forgive me. I'm so sorry that I made that decision. I probably should have made another decision, but I just felt so young. And anyway, I'm sorry that maybe I held up production for a day or so. And I'm so sorry. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to play Flash Gordon. And I'm so sorry if we have any if we have this tension between us, and please forgive me. But you need to understand this. When I spoke the word please before I got the word forgive, I didn't even get the syllable give out. I said please and as soon as I said that, that cloud, that dark cloud, had immediately, instantaneously lifted from my being, lifted from my shoulders, because I meant what I said. Please forgive me. And it's not about, oh, I'm going to receive a really good response from this person. It really wasn't even about that. That's not what forgiveness is about. Anyway, he responded, said, oh, Sam, it's fine. Don't worry about that. We're good. You and I are good. You did a great job. Don't even worry about it. So anyway, that's a long story to say, no matter what industry we're in, no matter what type of relationship with anybody, we need to speak forgiveness, even if it's not our fault. That's key. And again, you need to understand, you don't have to be, if something really egregious happened, we don't need to be their buddy afterwards, okay? We don't need to be friends or hang out with them, but we need to speak it so that torment and that cloud and it can be lifted so we can be liberated. It really is an incredible liberation.
It is. Very good. Very good.
Hey, Nick there for London Gothic saying get better, not bitter. Good
we need to let these guys talk. I've been taking up so much time.
Yeah, well, I've got a question for the guys, because I don't know, does anybody else appear in this comic, which I'm going to bring up again for everybody, just if anybody's joined us. Does anybody appear in this comic that's real life other than Sam?
It's Sam. It's about Sam.
So it's just Sam. So if you were to bring somebody else in from the Flash Gordon movie mythos, or even any kind of like of the movies or TV shows that Sam's been in, how do we think about this? Because you may not want to answer straight away. If you were to bring in somebody else, like I would probably say Ornella Muti, who would you bring in as a comic character with Sam?
Oh my! I thought about that one. And
good.
I'd put in Brian Blessed. That's
Brian
what I If Sam, he can hook us up with him for the next one, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, he would love to do it. Oh, he would just, yeah. he would stare at those pictures of him, the art of him, all day long. I'm sure.
That would be excellent.
Yes,
yeah, I'd like to meet him someday.
It's Brian Blessed. Look at me.
Joe, what about yourself? Have you thought about anybody?
I just said, Ted. I like Ted.
Ted. Well, that's guys. The link for this again is in the description. Just to let you know. But yeah, Ted. So that brings me to ask you, what were your thoughts when you first heard about doing Ted? Which must have seemed like a rather strange idea. I have to say it was absolutely hilarious when I saw it in the cinema. It was by and far the funniest part of the movie to me. I didn't know anything about it, and it was just amazing.
Well, I love the idea. We had a couple of different really cool dynamics going on at the time when Seth MacFarlane called me. Number one, first opportunity for me to play myself. Number two, back at Universal Studios for the first time since Flash Gordon. Okay. And number three, actually four things. And number three, it had this strong Flash Gordon theme to it. Mm-hmm. And number four, this was Seth MacFarlane's directorial debut, his first time directing a movie. So those four dynamics. And then when I read the script, we had to make a few adjustments, but I absolutely that he would call me. What a blessing. He would call me, but it's a true story, meaning I asked him, I said, why me? He said, Sam, because when I was 8 years old, my mother dropped me off at the movie theater. I watched your movie, Flash Gordon. And when I walked out of that movie theater, I knew I was a changed man. I knew I wanted to be a creative guy in the movie business. So my response to him was, well, Seth, you did become very creative, and I think that's cool because of me, but you also became a bit perverted, and I hope I had nothing.
I would say Flash Gordon could have that effect on some people. It's a very, it works on a number of different levels. And a lot of it, because there's a question in here for Kenny, is asking about the bold choice stylistically and tonally for the film and the way that it went. Were you aware at the time that it was completely different from the kind of movies that were coming out then? And were you in any way concerned about that?
So is the question, let me be clear, that was I aware that Flash Gordon was the same similarities as the Star Wars and all that?
Well, no, that stylistically it was actually very different from the Star Wars and movies that were coming out at the time.
Well, wait a minute now. I mean, the history of,
George Lucas wanted
Flash
Gordon. Couldn't get the rights, so he made Star Wars.
Lucas went to buy the rights to Flash Gordon. I have my theory why they didn't sell it to him, but they would not sell him the screenplay rights. Right. So he ended up doing this incredible movie called Star Wars. So there are some similarities with the titles and all of that. So, but anyway, I didn't. I think
what Kenny's getting at with his question is these movies like Star Wars, they strive to make worlds that look realistic, whereas Flash Gordon just went, you know what? It's almost like the Wizard of Oz. When I watched it, it felt that way. It reminded me a lot of Dino De Laurentiis' other film from the 60s, Barbarella. Sure. The colors and the sets and all that kind of stuff. I think that's what he was getting at there.
And you remember, he also brought in our production designer, Daniele Donati, did all the production design for Fellini, the Fellini movies.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of times I didn't think so much about stylistic. Even in my own life, I don't do a comparison thing at all. Maybe it's the Marine Corps that taught me that. Even in my early years going into an audition, the early years when we had to audition, meaning it's different now. Now we just pick up the iPhone and submit. But in the old days, we would walk into a lobby and there were 25 guys, my age, my look, all of us. And I never once, and it wasn't arrogance on my part, I never once, when I walked into that audition, I went, oh my God, look at all this competition. That wasn't my thinking. I thought, wow, they either want me, Sam J. Jones, or they're going to want one of those guys. And I didn't take it personal. All I know is that when I walked into that audition, I had to be better prepared than anybody else in that room. That's why when I got to the room, I took one look because It's the first time being in the lobby. So I had to look at it real quick, assess it, and not sit down and start yakking away to other actors I knew, because that's going to take you out of the game.
Yep.
I found some stairwell or some closet where I isolated myself. So I eliminated. So that's sort of an analogy about comparisons. I never compared Flash Gordon to anything else. I saw the comic strips. I saw Dino De Laurentiis gave me a stack of the old Alex Raymond books, all the comic strips put together in a series of volumes. And then, of course, I met Buster Crabbe, the original Flash Gordon, who ended up traveling with me, I think 2 weeks before Christmas, to help promote it. So I knew I couldn't be like Buster Crabbe. I knew I couldn't do, this is like Star Wars. No, I just thought, let me see. Here's the character. This is my take on the character. I want to be humble enough to share the director's vision on what he wants. I want to be teachable, but I want to give it my own signature. And really, what was Flash Gordon? Who was he? He was kind of naive. Sam Jones is a bit naive.
I wouldn't say naive. I would say there was kind of an innocence to the character. That's what I picked up on. That kind of a certain childlike quality.
So what I bring to the table every time, never comparison. I cannot speak for other actors, but for me, that would be a problem.
Yeah.
That would be a problem. Going in there with comparison. So I never do a compare, unless they say go in and mimic, go in and mimic Seth MacFarlane, go in and mimic the Bear, whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as me preparing for any role, no, I never do a comparison deal.
No, that's the best way to be. Joe, there's a wee question for you from Nick in London Gothic. Is that a Mando helmet behind you?
No, that's Boba Fett.
It's a Boba Fett, isn't it?
I still have yet to get a Mando helmet. One of these days I'll drop the money and get one, but that's Boba Fett back there.
Is that a Mando, or did he mean to say a Mondo?
Mandalorian from
Mando.
Mandalorian
I'm sorry.
show.
My mind went
Star
right
Wars
to
Mandalorian show.
Mando.
Yeah. Mine went Mondo as well. I was
Mingo
thinking Mongo
Mondo.
when I saw it.
Mongo. No, I went to Mongo. Yeah.
No.
Mingo Mondo on Mongo.
Yeah.
I'd
But
like a Mondo
you
head, though.
did
That'd
go
be
to
cool.
Mongo.
Yeah, that'd be
Mondo. Wow.
But
That really threw me off.
I guess
yeah.
I've got Maria's asking which part of Arizona did you film Highwayman in?
Oh, now Flash Gordon was a major blessing. Highwayman, as the guy, honestly, I could say, not to take away from Flash Gordon or any of the other 70 plus movies I've done, Highwayman probably is my most fun I ever had, most experience. Why? Because I'm a guy and I got to dress like Mad Max. I got to dress like Road Warrior, all that black leather. I had a big sawed-off shotgun strapped to my leg in a holster. I had a federal badge to do what I wanted. I got to drive an 18-wheeler. And the cool thing about that is we got to film in the great outdoors of Arizona. Well, you say, big deal, Sam. Well, here's the big deal. Usually when we're filming, we're in a sanitized environment, a sound stage or studio. But the great outdoors of Arizona, we were there in the elements, in the freezing cold of the superstitious mountains at night, in the blazing heat of Scottsdale and Phoenix during the day, and the dust and the dirt and the winds, and I just freaking loved it, man. I thrived on that.
Doesn't it just make you want to go there?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm going to book a flight.
It
Right
does, Joe.
But I made one mistake, and actors or anybody, remember when we're talking, it relates to any industry. But I made one mistake, and I never did it again. But I ride Harleys. I had a Harley then. And one day they told me that the producer Glenn Larson was not on the film set. So I had my Harley brought in from LA to Phoenix, and I rode my Harley on the film set. And as I was riding my Harley in, I see Glenn Larson's SUV coming towards me. And he rolls his window down. He goes, "What the F are you thinking about?" Right? So in other words, you can't, they don't really allow you to do dangerous stuff. You can't go snow skiing. You can't ride motorcycles. You can't do crazy stuff that's going to get you hurt. So I never again rode my Harley on a film set. Again, I did it secretly, so, and it's a contractual thing too. They'll put that in your contract.
It's kind of understandable. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
And Rob knows all about Harleys and motorcycles.
Yeah,
that's right, Sam. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get him on recorded here. You, me, Big Sir, someday on Harley. Sorry.
Yeah.
well, my brother-in-law, he's over on your side of the world, and he rides a Harley. My brother-in-law.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah.
Cool.
He did. I think he still does. Yeah. So I found a kind of like a weird connection in your movies. It's not that weird, but you've played 3 comic strip characters, but if not more, but definitely 3, because you were in the not released, but it should have been a series that lasted for at least 7 years. Will Eisner's The Spirit.
The Spirit. Yeah, that was
it. Did you get to meet Will Eisner at all?
I did, and that was the only Spirit that Will Eisner endorsed. And we filmed that as a television pilot to go to series, but it was aired as a movie of the week. And I don't follow hearsay and comparisons, but during the making of that, even Flash Gordon and The Spirit, they were all saying, "This is going to be massive." Our first few weeks of filming, this is going to be great. It's going to be huge. Why? I don't follow that stuff. I believe that's nice that their thinking is positive, but my job is not to focus on that. My job is to focus on what is expected of me at this very minute. Not about, it's got to be good. It's got to be good. No, it's what do the producers, what does the director expect of me at this very moment? So I never got on board with it's going to be great. And it was great. Flash Gordon was great. The Spirit was great. But it came out as because I think I learned on that project, especially when you have additional bosses. So we had the studio, Warner Brothers, and we had the network in NBC or NBC, I think. So look, it doesn't matter what the contracted producers say. It doesn't matter what they say about whether it's going to be picked up or not. The network has to make a decision, based on what the studio is giving them, and vice versa. And they may have other people under. We may have I know the Highwayman, we broke every record you could think of on the ratings.
Yeah.
But because they had another actor under contract at NBC, I'm talking about Highwayman, it wasn't picked up. So, and I don't feel bad. I mean, it would have been great. But there's so many different people involved and so many different people to please contractually with pending contracts. We should never take that stuff personal. Yeah. But all we got to be concerned about is do our job. And I refer to especially Flash Gordon as the triple blessing. Flash Gordon is the first blessing for any of us, no matter what industry, is getting hired, a job, getting hired.
Yeah.
That's the first blessing. Second blessing is if our project does well. Doesn't matter what we do, truck drivers, it doesn't matter. If what we do does well, we have success. That's the second blessing. And the third blessing is what we're talking about right now. Longevity. Okay. It's the triple blessing. Longevity. And now we have this, I guess you want to call it a quadruple blessing. It's my first comic book. Sam J. Jones Saves the Galaxy. I mean, come on. This is incredible.
Indeed. I'll bring it back up again. Let's have a look at this.
I don't think we talked about the Ranger Commander tier yet, and that's a big one. Yeah.
Right. So
if you go down to the Ranger. Sorry.
That's the big tier. That's the big boy.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's
we're spending some money there. And let me tell you what you get. Not only do you get all of that, and I'm not making this up, Joe and Rob can corroborate this, but you're going to get a private one-on-one meal with me at a restaurant somewhere. It's not going to be hey Sam, thanks for that quick beer or that quick cup of coffee. Thanks for the 10 minutes. No. We're talking. What are we talking about? Minimum 2 hours, a sit down breakfast, lunch, or dinner at a public restaurant, and we call it a meal, a dinner, a lunch, a breakfast, a meet and greet. But you're going to get that, and then you say to yourself, well, how in the world am I going to do that, Sam? Well, follow this site, follow my schedule, and wherever I come, hopefully I'm coming to Scotland, but wherever, follow my schedule, and whenever I come to one of these cities, you just say, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to have that. I want to get all the perks for the Ranger, everything Ranger Commander. And I also want to get that one-on-one meeting and 2 hour plus dinner, whatever, with Sam J. Jones. You just reach out to Joe and he'll give you the details. And while I'm in that city anyway, for that con and that comic book tour, we're going to connect. Maybe it's going to be a day before or maybe a day after, and we'll make sure we're going to do that.
Cool. That's fantastic. Also fantastic is the original art page here, which is
that's a really good price for
it is indeed.
Of original art. We'll send that out to you. Very protected, and you'll get whatever else is in there. I think there's the book and the bookmark and the trading cards, everything else like that. Then there's the autograph book, and that one's going to go fast. I feel like once more people see about this campaign, that one's going to go really fast. And we had to limit it just because we have to print the books, and then we have to take them to Sam to sign, and it's a lot of movement in there and money. So.
Logistics, yeah.
But we'll bring you Sam's autograph on a beautiful new Sam J. Jones Save the Galaxy book, so you might want to get that one.
And if you're at dinner or breakfast or lunch with me one-on-one, guess what? You'll be getting a lot of autographs, a lot of selfies.
Cool. Well, excellent. And of course, there is the sketch card here. Sketch cards are always a good idea. I thought that until I had to draw them all in my campaign, but they're always a good idea. And of course, you've got the book itself for everybody up here. Which
just grab the book. To support the project. We need the support.
Do you have a tipping jar?
No. What was that?
No, I thought you might have a tipping jar where people can just give you some money for a bit of a.
No, there's no tip jar. We just want you to buy the book. Just buy the book.
No tips.
Right. Oh, cool. Excellent. It's a great looking campaign. Like I say, the link to the Indiegogo is just below us on the old YouTubes and Facebook and whatever app. Excellent. So I want to just before we wrap this up, I've got a few things here that I wanted to mention, because I mentioned the 3 films. I want to mention one film which people don't talk about a lot, and that's Jane.
Jane in the Lost City.
Yeah, which again was a comic strip that maybe people don't. I don't know, Rob or Joe, if you know about this. It was a comic strip that appeared in newspapers over here in the UK, and it was about a woman that would solve mysteries, and generally her clothes would fall off at some point during the comic strip.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much all that happened. But that was directed by the director of Hawk the Slayer, which has got quite a cult following out there. Terry Marcel, wasn't it? Terry Marcel
directed, and it was Kirsten, who was the lead actress.
Yes, right.
Yeah, that comic book came out in the 1940s, and they used to put her on the aircraft.
That's right.
I went to Mauritius. And I did this movie with Maude Adams and all these English actors on this island. So if you have South Africa, let me see if I'm doing this right. Yeah. So if you have South Africa, and then over here you have Madagascar and the Indian Ocean, then you go out a little bit further in the Indian Ocean, and up here you have Seychelles and Mauritius. A little tiny dot. I think the island is 50 miles by 50 miles. And that was a cool movie. We're on the island all by ourselves, usually because the population of 1 million people have a superstition about the water. So you can imagine you go for a walk on the beach, you got the whole beach to yourself. Anyway, Maud Adams was incredible. We had these Graham Stark, these iconic actors from years ago, and part of the movie we all had to dance together in a waltz and a tango. We even incorporated a lot of the crew that was in the movie, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it seems to be, it's one of these films it didn't set the box office alight and it seems to have been forgotten, but it's such a cult curiosity, like you say, with the cast and everybody involved in it, that I'll be available for any kind of commentaries if anybody wants to release it on DVD. Just saying. Right, guys, is there anything else you want to say about the campaign or
I just wanted to say also, back the book, and also if you have any questions at all about anything in the campaign, about the Ranger Commander tier, anything like that, just reach out to me, DM me on Twitter. I'm going to put my Twitter handle in the chat here right now. It's at Gothic_Arch. And we'll be doing the updates on the campaign through my YouTube channel as well. You can find the YouTube channel through that. But maybe you can throw a link on there for me. And yeah, we'll keep you up to date on everything Sam J. Jones Saves the Galaxy. So
cool. I'll amend the links below. I'll stick your YouTube on there as well, Joe. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Done. I'll quickly. They've rechecked this. I don't like it at all. I don't know what they've done.
Google, man, that's the wrong one. Who's that?
So this is my current campaign, or it will be. It will be once I've got my previous campaign out the door. This will be my next one, which is Tatty Bogleman's Tales of Mystery and Imagination, and it's an anthology. It's a collection of an anthology that I had going a few years back. And I'm going to be bringing all the stories from the 4 issues that we managed to put out together, and it's going to be in my next campaign, and it's got adaptations of
a really cool cover too. That's classic.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, so there's something in there for everyone. It's got a feel of like the old magazines as well, the old anthologies, and there's lots of different styles of artwork involved. So there's bound to be something there that people latch onto. So if the link again is down below as well. You can click on that too and sign up for that, and I'm going to be doing something for anybody who signs up via the mailing list that they'll just get.
I'm going to take a photo of it. I just took a picture of it.
Oh, cool. The Tatty Bogleman's Tales of Mystery and Imagination.
Wonderful.
I might see you at a convention in Scotland sometime when I'm selling it then, Sam.
Absolutely.
I'll save a copy for you. Well, I'll just check if I've missed any interesting questions yet. Nope. Thanks everybody in the chat for joining us. Thank you, Joe, Rob, and Sam J. Jones, the mighty Sam J. Jones. I didn't even get to mention Blake Edwards 10.
He was wonderful. He was one. Julie Andrews, Blake Edwards, Dudley Moore, Dee Wallace from E.T. was in it. Brian Dennehy, Robert Webber. That was my first movie, 1978.
The amount of people that were in these movies that were just amazing. It's unreal. I mean, Brian Dennehy alone. But yeah, because that was your first movie, and that led on to Flash Gordon, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
We started the interview in 1978 while we were in Hawaii filming 10. I got the call from Dino De Laurentiis to go to LA for my first interview. And what Blake Edwards did, it was just amazing. Remember, this movie 10, I had a small part. Even though I was in it for a month, my contract was for a month. I had a tiny, tiny part. And I think I only had one line of dialogue. When he found out that Dino wanted to see me for Flash Gordon for my first interview, he hired a private helicopter to fly me to Honolulu Airport, to fly me to Los Angeles for that first meeting with Dino. So it's safe to say that Blake Edwards had something to do with me getting the part of Flash Gordon. And even though it took another 8 to 9 months, okay, of interviews and auditioning with Dino, Blake initially Blake had a lot to do with that. He's remarkable.
That's amazing. That's cool. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you one more question because it's Maria who's asked this. I'd like to know this as well. Do any of your kids want to act? Or more importantly, do you want them to act?
You mean for me?
No, I
meant for my children.
Yeah, is it something you would want them to do?
Well, no, my kids are ages 22 to 40 now. But when my 40-year-old was 12, he said, "Dad, I really want to be an actor." I never pushed this on my children. He said, "Dad, I really want to be an actor." I mean, I said, "Really? Really?" He said, "Yeah, if you ever, any of the scripts you read or this," I was doing a show. He said, "If there's a 12-year-old, I would like to go in and read for it." I said, "Son, you need to know if you want to do that, you're on your own." Meaning, once you step into that audition room with the writer, director, producer, there's nothing I can do or say. You are on your. He goes, "Oh no, Dad, I want to do it. I want to do it." So I think I had him. There was a famous producer, TV producer, everybody knows, Stephen J. Cannell. He did everything back. He did every show you could think of. Anyway, I call Stephen because I was doing one of his shows as a guest spot. I said, "Hey, my son wants to read for one of these 12-year-old kids." He said, "Sure, Sam, just make the call. I have him come in." So I took him to the audition. I waited in the lobby, and he went into the room with the writer, director, and producer, and he came out 5 minutes later, and his eyes were big, and he was sweating profusely. He said, "Dad, don't you ever do that again." I said, "Son, I didn't do anything, okay? You wanted to do that, not me." So that was one of my kids' moment in the acting business. Absolutely. Wow, okay. It's not for everybody. And I just want to, that's a great point and question for anybody who wants to get into the film industry. You have to know it's not something you want to try. Yeah, maybe. That's the wrong thinking. You need to know that this is where you belong. You need to know that this is the gift that God has given me. And once you've got a hold of that, this is where I belong. This is the gift that God has given me. Then you need to be studying and putting your art into action. Anyway, that's my advice for anybody who wants to get into the film industry.
Good advice. Good advice. Well, we are going to wrap up now. Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I can't even put into words how excited I was to be doing this show tonight. So thanks, guys, for coming along and doing this. So just before I end the broadcast, I've not getting to play when I end the broadcast because I forgot to upload my end titles. So we'll just have to do the old 1970s TV freeze frame for a couple of seconds while it does it. But we do that sometimes anyway. We do that. Yeah, the police squad, but there's one last thing I have to say because he did ask me to say this. He said, "Please thank Sam for saving every one of us." So thank you, Sam.
Well, I helped a little bit. Okay, just a little
bit. Right. Well, okay. So cheers, Nick. And that's us, guys. So it's what a show. End broadcast, freeze frame.